Hey guys, welcome to Do the Change podcast, where we're challenging and reimagining occupational and environmental health sciences. In this podcast, we focus on upcoming and current leaders in their field and dive into how they got to where they are today and their advice for those interested in the field. My name is Joanne Tay, and I'm a current undergraduate here at Berkeley. And our guest for this episode is Sangeeta Agarawal.
Hey everyone, thank you for being here.
Thanks for joining us. So, Sangeeta Garwal, or SAN for short, is a computer and AI engineer who is an integrative medicine clinician. She's passionate about quality of life for people undergoing serious health conditions and for workers in relation to total worker health. In the past, she's worked in developing digital health technologies, founding a company that empowered people going through cancer and other short-term disabilities by providing a combination of high-tech and high-touch solutions. This company built the first digital AI nurse for symptom management and navigation, called SAN, and currently continues her research in this field as she graduates with her NP in occupational health and is moving forward to starting her PhD with the UC Occupational Health and Nursing Department. So, nice to meet you, San.
Thank you, Joanne, for having me here. So nice
Mhm.
to meet you too. And it's truly a privilege to be here. And I hope I can add value to our listeners.
Definitely. I think you have a really cool story, so I don't doubt it at all. So
Thank you.
speaking of, would you like to kind of go into how you my top question for you when I learned about you was how you went from tech to nursing to occupational health. So yeah, it's quite the sequence. So would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it is quite a journey. So, um, I was when I was growing up, my great grandfather was a Vaidya, Indian medicine doctor. So the very first thing I learned um, was healthcare and taking care of people. And that's something that, I became passionate about from very early on. Um, After that, I had a rough childhood. So I almost grew up on the streets, pretty much depending on charity and public health system for supporting me. I ended up, being a complete nerd and being scrappy and finding my way through life, including like giving my own name, going to school, giving my own name, studying by streetlights, and finding my path forward. And I did a career in tech, came to US, and then I ended up building. After working in some tech companies, I ended up building video streaming on phone, which got acquired by Skype, giving rise to Skype Mobile. Um,
Wow.
Thank you. So it gave me an opportunity at that time to pause and think about what I want to do in my life. It was also about the time that I had just got married to the love of my life. And he was super supportive, or he continues to be super supportive. And he was like, just go do what makes you happy, it's fine.
That's
I
so
got
sweet.
you. Yeah, so I did. I went and be who I wanted to be. And I decided to pursue career in healthcare. And part of what was happening around that time was um, I had been through a very difficult disability in my life. Um, a very difficult health challenge, physical and mental. Um, and I needed some time off to recover. But I knew nothing about disability or anything, and I was on visa. And it so happened that because I'd got married, I could take time off. Um, um, but otherwise, I didn't know how I could have possibly taken time off. So that really made me feel that there is this really precarious aspect of you could lose everything um, that you worked hard for if you suddenly get sick. Because everything is, your insurance, your employment, your visa status could be tied to your work. So that's something that was always at the back of my mind. And then as I worked on recovering my own health, I felt like, I want to devote the rest of my life to empowering other people to have the quality of life that they want. And my husband, Shanak, was super supportive about it. So I pursued career in both Eastern and Western medicines. I went back to my Eastern roots and trained at the highest level in that area, becoming a clinical Ayurveda practitioner and yoga practitioner, and continue to run a small nonprofit kind of clinic supporting people in the community in that space, and also from a research perspective doing uh, at NCI doing review of integrative medicine research. And then on the nursing side, I pursued career in nursing and became a cancer nurse, mostly focused on symptom management and navigation for cancer patients and helping them through that journey. In the last 5 years, or like 2015, 2016 onwards, like after I had done some research in this area and saw the combination of how whole health and like a structured program can support people with having great outcomes. I'd done that research at UC. I felt like if I could make this available to large number of people in the community, then that can help many, many people who are going through cancer and other short-term disabilities. So UC was really supportive. I was working at UC at that time, and I went through all the different entrepreneurship program, and I was in UC Skydeck. So I worked on building that company from ground up, hands-on on everything, and then ended up, working through and supporting a lot of people going through this. So helped over 27,000 people going through cancer, and worked with disability carriers, and worked on changing some of the paradigm and awareness about this. At the same time, some of the challenges I was facing was that what I was seeing, the problem people had was that they were stuck between this rock and a hard place where they needed to take time off for treatment. They were going through a lot of, health problems, side effects, complications. That is kind of, part of going through a serious illness. But at the same time, their insurance was tied to work, and they felt all this, this whole struggle between working and getting treatment. So I felt like there was this very strong connection between between occupational health aspect and serious illnesses. And then on the other hand, in my clinic, what I was seeing was that a lot of musculoskeletal and a lot of day-to-day health challenges, like even mental health and stress and all of that, was related to work, because people are spending the whole day there. Right? So that got me interested in the occupational health piece, and I feel like I wanted to understand that field more in depth and be able to help people to live well and work well and be healthy. And around the same time, logistically, from a business perspective, it was getting complicated during COVID to keep the company running with the kind of contracts that we had. So I felt like the best way I could continue the work forward and serve people was to actually do my nurse practitioner degree and PhD in this area, because as a nurse practitioner, I'll be able to help people in the community hands-on as a clinician, and people can use their insurance to come and see me. And from the technology perspective, so like the kind of work I was doing was so much at the cutting edge that either I needed to raise a lot of money to build those technologies, or I needed to do it as a research, from a research perspective. So NCI program managers were very kind to kind of guide me in that direction. They're like, how about think of doing it as a research? Is it so cutting edge? So that's how I found my way here. And I hope I can continue to do good things with serving people and with making contribution and difference in the community.
That's awesome. Wow. At first I was surprised because it sounded like the sequence of fields was kind of like how did you manage to go through these three fields? But after you explain it and like how it was just like a natural consequence of like following your personal passions in these fields, it makes so much sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you. I love empowering people um to be able to do what they want in life, because in my life um I wanted to be able to have a say over what my destiny is, and what my life will be, whether, I grew up on the streets in India, or grew up as, as a girl child in a very traditional part of India, or I went through, like these really horrible disabling situations. And, I would have, in all of these, if I just let the situation take over, I would have felt helpless and my destiny would have been different. But I found, a way to lift myself up and carve my own destiny, with the help of people and resources in the community. And that's what I want to offer people, or that's what I continue to offer people through my work. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is helping people to feel they still have the power even when life is going wrong, and even when things are falling apart and it's chaotic.
That's so admirable. Did you ever have like moments of doubt as you're going through these different like career changes and like following your passion? Because that's like the hard part, right? Like feeling doubt as you're trying to follow your passion.
uh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't it's not so much doubt. I just felt like I was really, I felt critical of myself,
Ah, I
uh
see.
because of the uncertainty. It's like, I could have a really good stable career as a computer engineer.
Yeah, you mentioned Skype mobile, like that's amazing.
I could have done that. But I changed careers, spent years learning, and then I went into healthcare. And then I was working in healthcare, and now I'm like, no, I want to be able to serve more people, um, and be able to do more for contributing to the area. And then I go and, try these new things. And I go through all these struggles and challenges and failures and ups and downs, and, kind of what feels like restarting my career a bunch of times. Um, so through all of that, I'm like, why do I have this itch, this craziness to do all these things, instead of like having a good stable job and, growing in that and being happy. So so that's kind of what I've struggled with many times. But I just find that I've embraced my nerdiness at this point. This is this is just who I am. I know I want to be able to continue to contribute and make a difference. So I'll keep finding ways to do that. Yeah, I think it's the uncertainty that makes it hard. But I also feel that, we have one life, and if you feel that you have something that's calling you, and that you're meant to do, or that you're really passionate about, and you see that problem that's bigger than you, then no matter like the probability of success in that area, um, I feel like it's worthwhile to pursue that and to work on making that difference. Because even if I go till so far, even if I don't reach my end goal of 100%, but even if I reach 30, 40%, um, or whoever is pursuing, like even if you make some progress, you worked towards an arc of progress. And it'll create this momentum and energy where other people will, be inspired and think that's a good idea and try to work on it, replicate it, grow it, do it their own way. And soon that can create this arc, this momentum that can cause this change towards what you hoped to achieve, right? How you see the world as a better place, you can actually make that happen. So that's why I feel like it's worth pursuing that. I'm like, in my own life, like I mentioned, I come from a very traditional background. So in my community, girls got, women like they got engaged when they were 16 and got married at 18. They were not allowed to study or work. But um, I believed that I wanted to be able to do things on my own, and um, I did. I just went to school on my own and registered myself and
Oh my goodness.
and studied by school lights, I mean street lights. And then when it came time to work, I did that. And when it came time to pursuing higher degree and coming to US, nobody in my family had done that. And in fact, people were against it. I faced a lot of pushbacks. I was literally on the streets. But I believe that could make a difference. And if I succeeded in this, it will help me to live the life that I want, but it will also open up pathways for other people, which is what it did. Because after I had worked, after I came to US, I studied, I worked, and my relatives saw that I'm alive and I'm well, and nothing like, um, that they were afraid happened to me. All my cousins after this have had opportunities um, to pursue their career, right? So I feel like it's worth pursuing, even if there is hardship, even if you have some setbacks and failure, and somebody else carries the work forward. I think it's worth it. And same with my tech career. When I built the technology, it was because I saw really horrible things happen to people. And I feel like if they had a way that they could just push a button on their phone and show what was actually happening to them instead of somebody else's narrative of what was happening in the situation, that would empower them. And by building this technology, like early on in 2000s, it did that. Today, people use video and live streaming all the time, FaceTime. It's a reality today. So
That's awesome. Wow. Oh my goodness. That's really inspiring, actually. I'm gonna have to like reflect on myself after this. I wanted to ask you, so like when times were tough, like what things did you do or things did you turn to in order to like make yourself see like the light at the end of the tunnel to remind yourself like why you're doing this? How did you push through?
I think you actually answered the question in the question. Because like you said, it's about you remind yourself why are you doing it.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what matters. And I feel like even if, it's kind of like do or die. So even if I fail trying, if the goal is so important, if it's big enough, then it's worth it. That's just how I see it. Um, and I think the other thing is sometimes with hard situations, it's like the only way is through. So you hang in there and you drag things to the finish line, or you drag yourself to the finish line because you just need to, you just want to get there, and you just work through whatever needs to be worked through to get there, whether that's 10 issues in 10 different areas, or 200 issues in 200 different areas. You just you know keep working through it till you get to that finish line, or till you get to wherever you need to be. Yes, I think that helps me. And daily practices like self-care practices, I think those are huge. For me, that's what keeps me grounded. So I
What do you
have
personally practice? Sorry.
yeah, actually that's perfect. That's exactly to get into. Yeah, so I do daily kriya and meditation. Kriya is like a breathing technique. um so I do daily kriya meditation. I do daily workout, whether that's a short home workout or I go to a workout class. So I do that every day. And then the one thing that I found really helpful once I added to my life was planning. So one of my friend introduced me to this initially. It's a planning in like the different areas of your life. We did it as a New Year exercise, I think, one time. So planning in like the main areas of your life. So I think it's like 7 areas or something. So making your plan in those areas, like what is it that you want to, where are you today? How do you feel about it? And then where do you want to be? So you have that plan, whether that's, annual, you can do like a longer term, 5-year, 10-year plan. And then from that, I break it down into a quarterly plan. So I do that every quarter. I have a plan for what I hope to accomplish. Is generally pretty aggressive. So I accomplish some percentage of it. And then from that, I make the monthly and weekly. So, I just kind of work my way backwards, looking at those goals, and then I will make my plan for the week in those areas. So every day, and then from that, every day. So I journal every day. So I'll plan, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. And then I check, did I work on that? And then every day I journal um, what I accomplished and what I want to improve and what I'm grateful for. So those are things that I do every day. Um, Plus, I want to share one more thing, um, which is that I would say I would call myself a modern yogi. Um, so I follow yoga not just from like the asana perspective, but from the scripture perspective. So Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Um, So I follow the teachings of that. And that has yamas and niyamas, which are basically principles. So Patanjali was a scientist who gives you this scientific book in a way, like from a holistic perspective, scientific book on how to live life well, how to live life in harmony. Um, so it has principles that internal disciplines and external disciplines. So I journal on that every day, and that's how I catch myself if I went off track on something. So yeah, so those are part of my practices on a daily
Hmm.
basis, and that keeps me really grounded.
I really like the method of planning that you mentioned, like starting from your big picture goals and going smaller, working backwards. That means like you're for sure gonna keep your main goal in mind. I think it's easy because I will usually do my planning day by day because that's just like what's convenient. Like Google Calendar shows me the week in
Mhm.
advance. But then I forget like what I'm actually working towards.
Yeah, yeah, I forget too, and that's why I have to remind myself,
That's awesome.
And I have like reminders in different places, like stuck on the different walls and by my bathroom mirror with like, that's what you're working towards in case you've forgotten.
That's awesome. Okay. Then how about we pivot, or actually wait, before we pivot to asking you about your occupational health, your work in occupational health, I wanted to ask you like, so your app, or is it an app?
Yeah, so that company I ended up having to wrap it up. Um,
Ah,
but yes, it was an app. It was a Help C app,
mhm.
and it had a combination of high tech and high touch. So it had a AI nurse and a digital health platform that navigated people through different symptoms and different issues. And then there was also a clinical team, an interdisciplinary clinical team that was involved in the care of patients. So the combination of the two worked in providing care to people and enabling them to be able to go through these difficult illnesses. Yeah. So that's what it was doing. The challenge with that was the business model because, as you know, digital health is not reimbursed. Um, so building all that technology, it was difficult to actually get reimbursed for those technologies. And then it required a lot of business development and sales, which was also expensive, and the operating cost of that. So that was some of the challenge there. And because I was myself not directly a practitioner, I couldn't I had to work under the license of other providers. So that's where I felt that if I am a practitioner, then I can work alongside a physician, but I can provide care and it can be reimbursed by insurance. And the kind of technologies I was building, some of those were getting into like really cutting edge stuff. So I wanted to build them in a very um, systematic, focused way so that it's safe for patients before we make it accessible, because once you put a tech out there and it's available to people, you don't know what might be the health condition of someone who's accessing it. So I wanted to make sure that before I commercialize, these AI chatbots and and symptom management technologies, they were well tested. So that's where I felt that it's better to actually roll it back and pursue it from a research perspective.
I see. So that's what led you to like currently going back to school, doing all these programs. I see.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So if I did my research correctly, you did your you got your RN from UCSF, is that correct?
I got my RN in 2012 uh,
Uh,
from Samuel Merritt, and I'm getting my nurse practitioner in occupational health now at UCSF.
oh, I see. There we go.
Yeah, yeah. And we take classes with both the UCSF Occupational Med, and we take classes um, with the UC Berkeley Public Health Department. So with Dr. Clarissa Harris and other people in public health as well. And then I'm going to continue on with my PhD from this combo of UCSF, UC Berkeley in occupational health.
I see. I see. So how do you like it so far?
I love it. I love it. I feel like I came for the clinical or the learning or the topics on my checklist. It went from head to heart because I just feel like I found the community where I feel at home, where I feel like I belong. Um, and it just feels comfortable and it's inspiring. It's comfortable and inspiring at the same time. Like I feel that I belong here. I feel safe. I feel accepted. I feel like there is a lot of diversity and there is acceptance of um, diversity. And at the same time, people are um, so freaking brilliant. Uh, and they're so passionate about their field and they find ways to make a difference, despite all the challenges and pushbacks and working through years, in fact, decades and decades on whatever topic they're passionate about. And I feel like that's how I feel and that's how I am. So I felt like a misfit for many years. And here I just feel like I found my community and I found my people. So I absolutely love it. It gives me all the more than enough intellectual stimulation that I need. It gives me direction. I have amazing mentors and teachers. Um, and I get so much love and support. I can't see myself not being part of it.
That's awesome. Wow. So that's why you're committing to a full PhD in occupational health. Yeah. What are you
Yeah.
currently researching?
Yeah, so my plan is to work as a nurse practitioner and do my research. So do my PhD. So I want to be a clinician who's working and seeing people in the field, and seeing real problems and working on those in my research, and kind of it's a feedback loop where I can
Ah,
improve care. Yeah. Yeah, so for your question, sorry, I interrupted you, about what am I, what is my research area? Um, so my research area is at the intersection of cancer treatment and leave management. So um, people who are working and just got diagnosed with cancer. I'm starting with breast cancer. So people are diagnosed with breast cancer, so they need treatment, they need time off. the treatment tends to be, anything between 6 months to 18 months long, but the leave typically, like short-term disabled, the FMLA is just 3 months. And then people can get short-term disability, who have that eligibility, but others don't. So there is just this whole challenge um, between the treatment and the need for time off for the treatment and managing the side effects and managing your health. Um, and at the same time, the commitment towards being at work and the risk of losing your job, like not having that protection at work. So that's the intersection that I'm looking at currently. What are the problems in that area? Who is working on it, what is being currently done, where the gaps are, and then what can be done to support people who are undergoing active treatment, employees, people who are working, who are going through active treatment and need, support and programs that are designed for it. So that's the area I'm interested in working on. That's the area I'm working on. And my goal is to understand this in more depth and then be able to develop solutions to address it, incorporating my background in Eastern and Western medicine, so provide that whole health approach and technology for it. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. How's the
Yeah.
journey going so far? Like, have you been able to start working towards that?
Yeah, I have. It's really going amazing. I have like amazing, um, the community is just so awesome with people who are passionate about it and who can, connect you to other people who are passionate about it. So I started to research on this topic even in my nurse practitioner program as part of my class projects. And Dr. Sujung Lee and Dr. Hong, who are the two main professors in the occupational health nursing department, they were very supportive. And I was able to do a poster presentation at the Occupational Medicine Conference last year on this topic when I was just starting out my master's degree. Um, and then this year, I continued to go deeper into it and worked on this topic for my comp paper. So I researched papers in this area, uh, all the papers in that area, and I presented at the Occupational Health Conference. Then I've interviewed healthcare professionals who are working with this population and seeing what they are finding or what the processes are, and that I'm presenting next week at the Oncology Nursing Society, the annual conference, because I want other oncology nurses to know about this. And learn what they are doing, what's happening in their institution, and hear their thoughts on it, what could be done. And I'm part of an IRB at Kaiser on this topic, where I'm doing research on this area and looking at actual patient charts. So I have like really amazing mentors to support me in this. Dr. Lou at Kaiser allowed me, he's a PI, he's allowed me to be part of his research. And then my advisors, Dr. Hong, Dr. Lee, have been helping me with learning how to navigate research. And then one person who was really instrumental for me when I started out was actually one of the emeritus from the program, emeritus faculty, Dr. Barbara Burgel. Um, she talked in some of the events, and I reached out to her and shared with her my passion, and she was very supportive and responsive, and she's kind of been my mentor when I started out, um, and kind of supported me through my tons of ideas and, and directing me and helping me to be excited about it. So she's been amazing. And the seniors have also been super supportive. One of the senior, Dory, she became my peer mentor. And she's helped me to see what the path can look like a year ahead and how she's thinking about the field. So it's really, really cool.
Awesome. A few things. One, good luck on your presentation next week.
Thank you.
And two, it sounds like you found a lot of good mentors via like your own personal, like reaching out to them, or like it just seems like you've been able to land yourself many good mentors. So do you have any tips for people who are like young professionals trying to look for mentors in their field?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, first of all, uh, I would say that think about what is it that you want to accomplish. So think about what is your goals and what you can do. Like the way I think about it is, what can I do? I want to do ABC. And then what can I do about it right now? What can I research online about it? What programs, or where can I gather the information about it? And how far can I get? And then I figure out what are the places I got stuck. What are the questions that I have that are, like this knot that I can't solve? Um, or something that I don't know what to expect, or do I have a solid understanding, like a soundboard for what is it that I want to validate with somebody. So once I know what exactly I want, then I try to figure out who are the people who have already done this. These are the people who have walked the path, so they know answers to the kind of things that I'm trying to work on, right? So then I try to identify those people. And I think being part of a great community is that difference. UC has one of the most incredible communities that is very open and supportive. I know that if I send a message, generally people will respond back from my UC email. If not the first one, by the third time, people respond. And I do the same. If somebody reaches out to me for guidance or support, I will, at least direct them in the right, in a particular way to help them with their goal. So, so I would say, like, figure out, what is it you want? Who are the people? And then among those people, who can be in your network, um, that you can either reach out to directly because you know them, or someone knows them. LinkedIn is a great place because you may know so many people, or they may know the person that you want to know, and you see email is connected to LinkedIn. So you can search somebody's name and you can search their LinkedIn. Um, so usually either through the direct email or LinkedIn, you find somebody and, get connected to people. So that's how I do it. And then when I message that person, I give them a little intro about, my background, like a very short blurb to 1 or 2 lines. And then I tell them exactly what I'm looking for. And many times it's sometimes either a quick answer from them, where it might be like a short email they have to reply back, or they can direct me to a resource, or it might be that, I want a quick call, and or they might suggest, well, why don't I do a quick call with you? So that's how I generally do it. And then I make sure that I thank that person for their time. And if I can do something to help them with their goals, I try to do that. Sometimes that's simple, like, they may want to be connected to somebody, something, or their goal is something. And like, oh, I know this person who can help them, or this particular thing might help them. Um, so I just try to do something that could help them. Or another great way is to write a nice review for them. Like, either you can write a nice review on LinkedIn, or just send their supervisor a nice note saying this person went above and beyond to help me, even if they didn't have to. So I really appreciate it, and that's a nice way for them to get appreciated for the work that they're doing to help you beyond their day-to-day job.
Wow, it's like you read my mind. As you were explaining like your tips, I was thinking to myself, like the next thing I was going to ask you is like a lot of people who are like my age, undergrads, newly graduated students, I feel like the thing that they struggle a lot with when it comes to networking is like not feeling like a leech, quote unquote, like making sure that they, I don't know, can help their mentor in some way so that it's not just like fully one-sided. But yeah, those are great tips.
Yeah, and I feel like mentors like being able to see somebody, you know, reach their goal and flourish in that. Like I know I do when I mentor students and when I mentor nurses or research nurses in whatever role, right? Um, it gives me joy to see that this is something that they wanted to accomplish, and now they're very grounded in it, and they're like, "Yeah, I got this," you know. So I think one way to thank them is to actually keep them updated about your progress and say, look, this helped me, and now I'm, whatever, I accomplished that goal, and I'm now working on ABC. So that itself is very gratifying.
Wow, that's a really nice perspective. I don't often hear like the perspective of the mentor, so that's really awesome actually. Hey guys, this is Joanne Tay, your host for this episode, and we have reached the end of part 1 of this conversation with our wonderful guest. Don't click out yet because part 2 of this conversation has already been posted, so check out our page to finish the conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify and Instagram at Do the Change Podcast.